Is it started?
يلا 1 second.
لازم دور الكليكر.
شوف الغفير. No, I have to. Lori? Lori?
وين التليفون؟ مش الحال حمد؟ مش الحال؟ شغلتها؟
Just wait.
كويس. اهلا. ولا لك عمر؟ عمر؟ كيف صلي ساعة. ممكن.
طلعتوا اونلاين صح؟ مش المفروض اونلاين هلا؟ بنعيد الكاميرا؟
بس
مين اعمل اخ عشان
عم بسمعوك اكيد هلا اذا فتح
تسمعني؟ من اليوتيوب؟
مروه اهم شيء مروه. يلا ما في
Then I will.
نتأكد مع مين اللي اسمه؟ ايه؟ موجود.
Hello. Good morning. May I have your attention, please? I want to start the second day of Energy Strategy Summit with Mrs. Dalia Riley, the Head of Business Development and Board Member at Riley Gross, the VP and Board Member at AUB Nature Conservation Center. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending us today on the second day. Ladies and gentlemen, I am honored here to stand among you today, thanking the organizers of the forum for giving me the opportunity to represent Jubaili Bros, the global Lebanese company, specialized, fully dedicated to provide power to people through conventional and renewable energy. We all know that global warming is a major environmental concern. But did you know that 25 to 30% of the emission is caused by the utility sector? This is a big number. Being in the power industry, we at Jubaili Bros feel the urge and the responsibility to address this matter and to develop sustainable solutions. The best answer to which is renewable energy. What is renewable energy to start with? Renewable energy can be defined as clean or green source of energy from natural resources, such as you can see, solar, wind, hydro, among many others, in order to produce electricity instead of the traditional and more pollutant resources, such as fossil fuel or charcoal. Allow me to introduce Jubaili Bros. Jubaili Bros was established in Lebanon more than 45 years ago and is considered a leading power provider in the Middle East, Africa, and Asia. Jubaili Bros serves its global customer base, offering high quality of power generating solutions. As you can see, since 2017, Jubaili Bros has evolved into a renewable energy generation by offering environmentally friendly solar energy products such as batteries, inverters, and PV panels. So we started the journey way back in 2017 to accompany this global emissions. Jubaili Bros today employs around 1,500 women and men in well experienced and qualified in 11 countries 30 branches. It operates through 3 factories with a production capacity more than 1 gigawatt in renewable and conventional solutions per year. At the same time, we are proud to have installed globally more than 20 gigawatts since establishment. That is around 5 times of Lebanon power speed. Jbeil Gross provides complete and comprehensive energy services. Our power solutions are customized and tailored to meet specific and sustainable customer needs. We do integrate energy audits and energy studies and processes to ensure proper and efficient solutions to our clients. Our global reach, combined with our corporate social responsibility, do make the engagement into many programs towards green, efficient, sustainable energy a natural alignment need. Jbeil Gross has taken the journey to drive energy sustainability and renewable power solution a long time back, where we started the energy transition on our factory. We have installed 235 kilowatts hybrid system to reduce the carbon footprint. We do also report our carbon emission to the Ministry of Environment and to UNDP, where we got our certificate last month from the Minister, His Excellency Dr. Nasser Yassin. Jbeil Gross as well is happy to announce its enrollment in Capital Concepts Lebanon Environmental, Social and Governance Stewardship Program, supported by the USAID Trade and Investment Facilitation Project. This will keep Jbeil Gross always meeting the international standards and regulations. We always recommend our users to align with us or with any other professional company certified by LCEC, which is the Lebanese Center for Energy Conservation. It's a governmental organization within the Lebanese Ministry of Energy and Water. Working with LCEC, certified company like Jbeil Gross ensures successful, safe, and efficient energy transition. We started our talk today about the high impact of energy emissions on climate change. At the same time, renewable energy is important for your business. It provides energy security, economic development, and energy price stability. Let us all work hand in hand to save the world from global warming, to obtain clean and sustainable energy by integrating renewable energy solutions soon. Thank you. I would like to take the opportunity as well to let you all know, please don't miss our upcoming panel, Strategy for Integration. It will be moderated by Rory Hayatan. Thank you.
فتح الصوم عندي.
So good morning all. Good morning to the audience here and those who are online. And welcome to the Energy Summit 2022. It's my pleasure today to moderate a session on energy integration in Lebanon. Definitely not an easy task to discuss integration, connectivity, common markets, when every single Lebanese and every single day is a struggle. Every morning to rush before the electricity cut to have coffee, and then in the evening to finish before 12 so we can go to sleep because the generator is switching off. But also, I guess, with every collapse, there are opportunities. And as Lebanese, we've been taught to become very resilient and to think creatively every time that we have problems and challenges the way that we are facing them today. So that's why it's always interesting within the collapse we are in to always think of, okay, how can we go out of this collapse and how we can survive and do creative stuff and good things. So, and find solutions to the problems that we are facing. What we're seeing today, it's interesting how people have taken again taken initiatives and decided not to let darkness prevail. And we've seen interestingly that they've moved on to find solutions, which this time was like really good solutions, which are green solutions. And we've seen people going on their own, going into installing all these solar panels. So 10 years of struggle by the Lebanese government to install around 100 megawatt of renewables, and then in the past 2 years, we've been able to add 350 almost megawatt. So now it's like up to 450. But that 350 is all people-led solutions. But to what extent and how can we continue having these people-centered and people-led solutions and not for government to interfere and or not government to take control? And how far can we go with these solar people-led solar initiatives? Is it enough or not? And what we need, especially if we're talking about regional integration, is it that I suppose it doesn't happen on the level of people. So there's always a need for the state. Whatever we try, how much we try hard, like to bypass sometimes the state. We cannot bypass the state and state utilities. So basically, with collapse again, opportunities of integration. Very interesting 2 projects that are on board today. Let's see if they will materialize, which are like the Arab gas pipeline project, which is gas from Egypt to Lebanon. This is connectivity. And other project, which is electricity from Jordan to Lebanon. This is another project of connectivity. So even with the collapse that we are living in, we are seeing that we can talk about connectivity. So that's why I think it feels weird, even though we have zero electricity per day, that we can still talk about connectivity. So to talk about these issues and more, and definitely it's not supposed to be a nagging session, it's more about future-looking session. So we'll be talking more about like future opportunities that we have and what it takes to unlock these opportunities. I'm happy today to have with us here in person Mr. Ramzi Baisi. And Mr. Ramzi Baisi is an expert in high voltage electric power systems and networks and the integration of renewable energy into the grid, which we will be talking about. He's the head of the High Voltage Transmission Networks Department in Electricity Union since 2008 and the head of Master Plan Committee for Generation and Transmission for 2020-2030. He joined the EDL in the year 2005. He's a member of the Electricity Working Group of the Mediterranean Energy Regulators, located in Milan. He's the head of the LT to the Mediterranean Transmission System Operators, and he has published several articles related to the assessment of the potential for power deficit reduction using renewable sources and the functioning of a deficit power grid in the internal Lebanon. يعني. And online, we're happy to have Roni Karam. You saw her big on the screen. So Roni Karam does always these big entrances, much about his name. So Roni he's the founding member and president of the Lebanese Foundation for Renewable Energy. And LFRE is an NGO that promotes a transformative green energy revolution to solve Lebanon's current electricity crisis. And the NGO's energy plan aims to leapfrog into a new energy model based on the massive and fast adoption of solar, wind, and hydropower across all regions of the country. Providing cheap, clean, and local energy will be the foundation of a new, sustainable, productive, and fair Lebanese economy. Good luck with that, Roni. And he is currently the owner of and CEO of KTP Group of Companies. So, and last but not least, our guest from Jordan is with us. Yes, Samer Zawede. Samer is an independent engineer, internationally recognized energy expert with 26 years of management experience around the world. He worked on the extra heavy steel structure fabrication of power stations and refineries worldwide and on developing several wind energy projects in Jordan. He's working on the Jordan Renewable Readiness Assessment for 2020-2025 with IRENA, Jordan Climate Change Stakeholder Panel to initiate the carbon market and finance energy efficiency, renewable energy, utility scale wind and PV projects development and he is the first consultant that started implementing Jordan Green Building Guide rating systems in 2015. And he is a lecturer at the Hussein University. He is a public speaker and a certified carbon reduction manager, renewable energy professional, and holds several other certifications. So, welcome to my guests in person and online. And let me first start with Ramzi. Ramzi, everybody wants to know first, before going into the future, about the current status and the debut of the end. So, if you can tell us what's the status now of the end. And what plans you have for the short term and medium term? Let's not talk now about the longer term. But tell us what's happening at today.
First, I want to thank the organizers of this event for inviting me here, especially Raluca. Regarding the current situation of the sector in Lebanon, unfortunately, as well known, the sector is facing severe problems since decades, structural and constitutional problems due to this. If you want to go a little bit back in history to know the reason for this catastrophic situation that we reached now. It started actually in the year 1994 when the government set a fixed tariff for the electricity based on the old prices of fuel. It was around like $20 per barrel. Later on, the prices reached 140, 5-6 years ago. This policy led by time to a big mismatch between the tariff and the real fuel prices. And this actually led to this catastrophic situation that we are now in, since there are no more funds available to buy fuel to operate the power plants. It's not a technical issue, if you want to say. But we also want to highlight on another important issue that led also to this situation is the high losses on the network. And the high losses are divided into two main parts, technical and non-technical. The problem of technical issues of losses can be solved by implementing the master plan for transmission and distribution. It's approximately estimated to be around 13% on the distribution level and 5% on the transmission level. So we have a sum of 18% of technical losses. But these losses are slightly higher than the international norms. It's higher a little bit, but it can be, we can reach solution by implementing, as I said, the master plan. The severity or the big problem is with the untechnical losses. The untechnical losses are also two parts, are the illegal connections with the grid, plus the lack in connections. And this is due to the political situation and the habit of the people also. So they are waited since long time to take everything from the government in cheap prices, and sometimes they even don't pay. So EDF was not able to make the required, the on-time collections. In addition to the lack of possibilities in EDL's team to remove all the illegal connections from the grid, because sometimes we used to go remove, and after 1 2 days it come back, and it was a kind of play between the dog and the cat, if you want to say. We leave, they connect again, and there was no seriousness in fighting this actions by the people. So all these issues gave a big burden on EDL's financial status. The third problem also is the policy of the government that prevented us, the public sector, from recruitment. So we were not able to recruit employees, engineers, technicians, and we were forced to depend on what is known by daily workers. And these workers, most part of them are skilled, okay, but other part are not skilled. So the performance was by time getting down and down. So all these factors together led to this situation. But sure, the basic issue was the tariff. Because the tariff, if the tariff was set on a formula that we can be able to higher the tariff with the prices of the oil and at least on monthly basis, let's say, not on weekly basis. We couldn't reach it instead of having the budget from the government support that is being paid by the Lebanese Central Bank to only cover the gap between the tariff and the free fuel oil prices. We could use this money to construct new power plants with combined cycle that works on gas in order to meet the increasing demand in the country since 10 years and more. Yeah, I want to say in the end of the 90s, it was only a short period when EDL was able to meet the demand for a short period of time. After that, after the year 2000, no more power plants were built, and the gap was getting bigger and bigger till we reached, before the final crisis in the year 2019, we could supply 21 hours in Beirut and 14 to 16 hours in the regions. And after that, it's another story now. It's a matter of funds and financial.
So what's the short-term plan now?
And regarding the plans, Ministry of Power and Energy, Power and Water, put a plan in the last year, in 2021. It was an updated plan with the World Bank, in collaboration with the World Bank and the Intercity France. And we were there as EDL team. It's based on three main pillars, if you want to say. First, to stop operating, to increase the generation capabilities in the country, and stop operating the power plants of fuel, light oil or heavy fuel oil, and turn all the combined cycle power plants to gas. They were built in the 90s to operate on gas, but unfortunately there was no gas there. This could reserve around 30%. It's less. We can reduce cost by 30% at least, instead of operating the power plants on such high prices as now, especially nowadays. This is the first pillar. The second pillar is to improve the operational and financial performance of EDL by, as we said, by decreasing the losses, also,
So you need to invest money in ODL so that ODL becomes more efficient. When now we have problems with ODL because it's inefficient.
yes, it should be.
Yes, just like for the people, because when we say that ODL is not efficient and we have losses because of it, but now you're saying we have to invest in it so that we can get a return on investment. So that's very important for people to understand that without investing in it, you will not.
We stopped investing since the series investments were done in the 90s. After that, in the year 2010 and above, we made deep power plants, specific engines in Zug and GE, and some of red lines and underground cables, in addition to 3 substations, main substations in Beirut and the north. But the plan, but this was an emergency plan. The bigger plan was not implemented yet, which includes additional power plants to meet the demand, as we said. And also, accordingly, these power plants should be accompanied by additional overhead lines and major substations to distribute and the load, the power to the demand centers.
So the third pillar is renewables, right? Of the plan.
Exactly. Within the plan, I just want to add that on the level of governance and transparency, the law 462 the main issue with this law is to unbundle EDL. To unbundle EDL, the private sector, under the help of IPPs, can invest in the generation sector, and we will have compatibility prices more than now. In addition, in the distribution sector, there the investors would also invest in renewables, where these renewables could be integrated on the distribution network. Also, it can be, depending on the size of these renewables, it can be also integrated on high voltage network if it is exceeding 30 megawatts, for example.
So on that, so I don't know if the our guests online can hear us now, Raluca, they can hear us now, so we can switch to them. It's fixed, they can hear us. Okay, so on that, before we fix the technical problem, so how ready is our network? Because we're always hearing about great network problems, etc. So how ready is our network to get these new renewable energy sources that are being generated? Because the situation that we are seeing today is like, as I said, people have added 350 megawatt today of renewables, but these are like for their own consumption. For now, there is no law that allows them to sell it to the grid or to sell it to the end and do that kind of exchange. We're waiting for the law to pass around that. But today, what we're seeing is that a lot of people are generating electricity. There might be more and more. So even on that, if it's not fixed by the law and we're late in the law, so we'll have losses there because the law will be generating more than they need, and they can't even exchange it with their neighbors in the same building or in the neighborhood. So that is a situation. That's why it's urgent, I guess, now to pass the law, if I'm not mistaken, and to pass it without the bottlenecks, certain bottlenecks, and to really learn from the lessons of the past and from other laws to make it really efficient and not another challenge and obstacle. But how ready technically, before we move on to our guest, how ready is the end to get that kind of that renewables? We're still talking small scale. We haven't talked about like this big power generators that will come in and that will be generating bigger amounts than what we have seen on people's level.
Now the existing situation or the existing grid is capable to bypass around 2.5 gigawatts. The available generation capacities are around 1.8, 1.9. So we are able to integrate renewables as planned in the ministry previously. So the 180 megawatts of PV panels, PV fields, farms can be integrated. Especially we are integrating them on medium voltage so they are not going to crowd the high voltage network. So they will be, technically we say we describe this as a negative load on the substation. So we are producing to the demand the power, and we are taking from the renewable sources. So it is like a negative load, if you want to say. In addition to that, we have 220 planned wind farms in the north. Also, these fields, if done, we can integrate them within the existing situation of the sure. If we want to speak on additional resources, especially on medium scale and above, sure, the network should be reinforced. And this,
How much money we need to enforce the next steps?
not only we can divide it to say that how much money to integrate additional renewables, because this is mixed altogether between because introducing more renewables would oblige us to construct new conventional power plants to keep the network stable. Because on the renewables without integration with the region, the inertia would go to very low levels because the renewables don't have inertia. So you increase a lot the percentage of renewables without taking this into account, without having conventional power plants aside ready to ramp up to bridge the gap when the renewables are lost because they have a random nature, as we know. So this the reinforcement of the grid is being done now with CDF and the World Bank with us in order to be able to reach the optimal point to define which are the required investments on transmission lines and underground cables in addition to substations in order to be able to integrate more renewables up to 2 gigawatts. But this would need the reinforcement sure without.
Yeah. So we go back always to this financial finance and investment, and this is, I think, one of the biggest challenges now because all the finances in this sector or anything is conditional and it needs like a kind of a lot of work from the government, especially on reforms, which we are seeing a bit of resistance. So I'm not sure like how much we will be successful in attracting investment until the government decides that, okay, I can do more, I need to reform. That's true.
Hopefully things will be better.
That's true. So if they can hear us, let me go to Roni because the most, like Roni, when I met him, is like that, the one person in this, that I know that is so much excited about renewables and that thinks that tomorrow we can all become green and all like generating electricity from renewables. I wanted to ask you, Roni, so as we said at the beginning, this collapse of the electricity system could be seen as an opportunity to speed up the renewable energy investment. And I wanted to check with you this assumption and just hear from you, what are you able to do and how you are kind of promoting like renewables and how much you're working with decision makers to make this happen and push for more renewables to be installed. So just to hear from you, I know the work that you've been doing, so if you can tell us more about that. Is this the right assumption that today you see that this is the right opportunity to invest in renewables, and you see that this collapse is going to create a new energy system in the country?
Well, thank you for your question, Lori. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I didn't, the sound is very bad. A lot of echo. I didn't get the question in writing, and my understanding is you're asking about the collapse of the electricity system level as an opportunity for renewable energy. Is this correct?
Yes.
Well, I wouldn't phrase it, well, hi, Lori. Hi, Lindsay. I wouldn't phrase, the question in that way, because we look at what's going on around the world. We understand today that there's a major energy shift across the world, and they don't have enough energy systems. And if you look at all of Europe and the United States, nobody has an energy crisis the scale of Lebanon, and yet this is all that they're looking at for the next 20 to 30 years. Energy transition, environmental transition, transition écologique in French. So it's not only the fact that Lebanon doesn't have electricity that we need to adopt renewable, but for us it's more of a vision of a new Lebanon. And the vision of a new Lebanon is how do we need to rebuild a new economy, a sustainable economy, powered by sustainable energy. So it's not only because we're in a crisis that we need to adopt renewables. We all know now that renewables is the cheapest form of energy available. It's the cleanest form of energy available. It's local and it's fast. So it's a no-brainer. And the whole issue, and I think Ramsey, from what I heard from him, is how do you integrate as much renewable as possible in the system. And the opportunity today for Lebanon is to benefit from this calamity that we live today. The crisis that we have, which is unique in the world. We're probably known to Somaliland without electricity. So use that opportunity as to leapfrog into a completely energy model, as I said, rebuild a new economy that is built on environment, that is built on cheaper energy, that is built on energy security. What a shame for us, every single as Lebanese people, to be waiting for LCs to be opened by the central bank every single time. There are boats that is managed probably by mafia, and why we have sun and wind and water that can power our energy. So the whole issue today is how do we integrate as much energy as possible with this changing world that is taking us to a new energy model. And we need to keep in mind two paradigm shifts. We're here completely in a different logic. And this is why we contest completely the government plan, which we believe is still built on an old mentality, on how, we need the gas plants and then we see how much renewable we can add and how much we integrate. The change of paradigms, first, renewable energy obviously is much cheaper than gas, but distributed renewable energy today, which includes solar or wind and batteries, and a little of generator that provides for 24 hours is cheaper than gas. So then Ramsey was mentioning, for example, the losses in the system that we have, which is huge. I didn't hear his numbers. I don't know the latest numbers, Ramsey. What I see is the ones that are in the Ministry of Energy plan that take out 40%, technical and non-technical, and then promise to reduce it for 20%. But who believes the government? We've heard this for the past 20, 25 years. And who believes that they're going to be able to reduce from 40% to 30 or to 20%? So you have huge losses in the system. While in distributed energy, when we're installing solar on our rooftop, on our schools, on our hospitals, or in villages, you don't have losses. You have very little losses. And people pay their bill. We don't have non-technical, what they call it, which is basically theft and people not paying their bill. People pay their bill locally. So if you take all of this into consideration, you include the cost of pollution, we've seen that distributed energy with batteries and with small generators are 40% cheaper today than the gas plants that they want to build. Yet all we hear from the government plans and when they need is how many gas plants we're going to have. So just to say that it's an opportunity for Lebanon to move into this new energy model, to go into environmentally friendly, to develop local regions, and to try to get to it as much as possible, to decarbonize and think in the next 20, 25 years, when we know that it's difficult to think so far, when we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But we need to planify in the 20, 25 years that we will completely decarbonize, as the rest of the world is doing, and work backwards, obviously. So I don't know if I answered the question.
Yes.
It's a great opportunity, but it's not only linked to the fact that we have a major energy crisis today.
Thank you, definitely, but it's like just to see it from the bright side, that with the collapse, we are seeing like shifts and changes, and I think this is the challenge for all of us, like to really make that shift and challenge, like changes, because the worst thing would be like after the collapse, we go back to business as usual and we don't learn from it or we don't do any drastic changes into the systems that we have. We get back to the future plans of the ministry. But let me now welcome our guest from Jordan. And Samer, you've heard I'm sure like you know about our crisis that we're living, electricity and energy crisis, and Jordan was definitely open to support and help Lebanon with this crisis. But I just wanted to get your views, and we always talk about Jordan like kind of a success story when it comes to renewables, planning, etc. Definitely with other challenges at the same time. But just to get your thoughts on how do you see, like, how is it possible with the crisis that we're living in and the problems that we have, how can Lebanon be integrated so that we can start talking about this other integration between regional markets? How can we, integrate Lebanon in the regional market? How can we do that? And so the question for you, and welcome to our Energy Summit.
Yes, thank you very much for the question. Thank you very much for the organizers. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear.
Excellent. I think as the previous guests have indicated, it is a unique opportunity. We are living in a world that is increasing the uptake of renewable energy. And I think that the year 2022 is the year that renewable energy storage started. So the start of renewable energy storage, it will make things easier in the next few years to integrate more renewables. During the past 10 years, Jordan started the, let's say, renewable energy uptake after the issuing of the Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency Law in 2010. And as of this year, 2022, we are 29% of our electricity is renewable energy. I think each year we are installing about maybe 15,000 to 20,000 small systems. So the first thing I would say, it's a goal for the professionals in Lebanon to increase the capacity building among professionals in solar PV and solar PV storage. This will make a big difference because it will give the engineers the local power to design the solar PV systems according to their local needs. I know that you have plenty of shutdowns. I know that you have heavy dependence on diesel engines, but with the increasing in electricity prices, with the development of the new technology, especially mini grids, I think that the next few years we'll see an integration of huge amount of solar PV into the Lebanese grid in different forms. It can be direct integration like net metering, which will be a very small amount, or net metering plus hybrid diesel, which is, I would say, the most that will be implemented in Lebanon. And then you have the mini grids. many grids where you have community power, where you have a group of users integrate their energy need into a small network and managed by professionals. So I think this will see development in the future. It all depends on the technology. The second thing that will happen is the integration of more electrical vehicles into the Lebanese grid. So with the development of technology, you will see also more electrical vehicles available on the roads, which are charged using renewable energy. The speed at which this development will happen depends on the knowledge of professionals moving, because I'm focusing on the bottom-up approach. The top-down approach, where you have laws, regulations, and systems in place, this is difficult and will take years for development. So while we are waiting for the top-down approach, I think the bottom-up approach will be more prevalent in Lebanon. Thank you very much. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll come back to you later to discuss about other issues. But I think, again, just to move on to what's happening on the local level. One idea that was being floated as well on how to benefit from the collapse is about not electric vehicles as much as it was about bicycles. So now with the high prices of benzene, the idea was like, why don't we in certain places just decide that these are places that no cars are allowed to encourage the use of bicycle. The price of gasoline is very high. And I think these are the kind of switches that we need to make, and behavioral switches, which I think it's important for these civil society organizations to work on these behavioral change. When first, like 2 years ago, we were saying that we will reach to a point where we will not be able really to buy fuel oil, and we're going to be in the dark. We were accused of whatever bad things we were accused of. When we said we need to switch now to change behavior and use less our cars, because we will get to a place where we're not going to be able to pay for the benzene again. They were like people saying that, no, I don't want to regress. And no, but using bicycle is not regression. It's like you go to Europe and it's all these are progressive behaviors or progressive policies, like to decide that you're going to stop the use of electric use of cars. So I think it is important to work on that behavior. So that was one. There's two that I want to come back to you, Ramzi. Is interestingly, we're hearing that mini grids, or even what people are doing today, is totally off the grid. So I hear a lot of people saying, أنا بالضيعة حطيت solar panel, I don't need the government anymore, I don't need the generator. So these people are going off the grid. So if we continue in that trend, are we going to go to a place where we wouldn't even need to increase the generation of electricity? And then maybe this 1,000 megawatt, if one day we go back to the 1,000 megawatt, will be more than enough. Is this something that the air is thinking of? Like what's happening to people that are going completely off the grid, and what will happen to the capacities of the grid, and how much we need, and what assumptions or scenarios you're having about the future needs? That's one. Second, again, to talk about the future. I know the situation is very bad today, but to talk about the future and about regional integration and connectivity. I'm sure if Lebanon is being approached, and Lebanon has plans about how to be integrated in whatever system is being put in place, especially about electricity and this connectivity through interconnectors, etc., and the futures for electricity and not for gas, oil, or coal, or whatever. So first on the capacity of EDL, and then on the future of interconnection.
Okay, now for the first section of your question, people that are installing rooftops, for example, they are off-grid or even on-grid. PV can be also, depending on the inverter, can be on-grid, so it would be synchronized with it.
The batteries, to charge the batteries, yes.
Charge the batteries and they sell the back energy when it's not required. Yes, yeah, it would be sure we have to have the network there, the grid line. Or even if they are off-grid. In both cases, we have reduction in consumption. In both cases, but still, people that are depending only on PV and they don't want the grid anymore, and so we don't need the government. It's not very accurate decisions because in the end, the weather is changing. During summer, it will be achieved. Still, we need batteries, and this is not feasible to buy a lot of batteries and throw away after 3 years. So
That would be another environmental problem.
it's not a very wise decision to put yourself off grid all the time. During the winter also, sometimes there is no sun, so etc. Renewables are very useful and clean energy, but still we still need the grid in the end to reach the stability and the required demand in all the time, not only depending on the weather circumstances. So, sure, in our plan, as I told you before, with the World Bank and the State of France, the first estimations in the year 2017, when we did our first version of the master plan, in that time the renewables were estimated to be around 10 to 12% only. So the increase in demand, the yearly increase in demand was estimated to be more than now. We used to estimate around 5 to 6% per year. Now, when the targets are higher by using the renewables, and we should reach 30% after 10 years. So we took this into account, and the estimations for the increase in demand are much less now. It's around 3% per year. But still, we have a shortage in conventional generation now. So in all cases, we need additional conventional generations, and that generation, and as I said before, it's not only a matter of capacity, installed capacity, because you can have the installed capacity stand by and use renewables when available, but still the most important thing is operational reserve. Without conventional power plants, you will not be able to overcome the accident, the sudden absence of the renewables. So there's two factors there: the quantities, required quantities of operational reserve, and the ramping up speed of the conventional power plants in order to be able to quickly bridge the gap of renewables. So conventional power plants that work on gas, hopefully in the future, should be there. The estimations are now around 2 giga at the first period of time, and later on it will be increased. But 2 giga, one in the north and the other is the south.
For this water consumption needed.
It's for the coming 10 years.
Yes.
We are studying now the master plan for the coming 10 years.
From renewables or overall?
No, I'm speaking about convention.
Okay.
Renewables installed capacity.
That's not the whole now.
Now we have 2.6 years old.
Yes.
We should have around 4.6 installed capacities in conventional. Renewables, you have to generate, let's say, 1,000 megawatts of renewables. You should have there around 4,000 installed capacity.
Yes.
And they are not always available. You can take from renewables not more than 22% from wind and much more from PV. It's not the case like conventional power plants. So these renewables are taken into consideration when we study the estimated increase in demand in the coming 10 years. And as much as the country would be integrated with the surrounding countries, especially Jordan and Egypt, to the Syrian territories, as much as we can integrate more renewables in order to avoid the risk of blackouts and instability to operate a system, an isolated system like the existing situation of renewables. Some are isolated. So in isolated systems, renewables must be studied in a way not to affect the stability of the grid. So we can integrate as much as we have.
So what are the plans? And I think we're running out of time.
This is the
So
second
what
part.
exactly? So what are the plans to integrate that into the region?
The second part of your question is about the infrastructure ready to be integrated with the surrounding countries. First, now the main integration point or the main interconnection point with Syria and Jordan, accordingly, is Xara substation. It operates around 400 kilovolt and it's connected with the Jordanian system on this level of voltage. And now in Xara we have one transformer with installed capacity of 300 MVAs. We should, or we plan in the year 2010 to install another one to have 600 megawatts to be imported from the other countries at that time. But the
So when we say
Syrian
600
crisis,
megawatt, how many hours of electricity is this? Just to convert it so that people understand.
if you want to say around 6-7 hours,
Okay. Just like for people to get an idea.
the crisis in Syria needs this project, and we didn't install the
Yes.
transformer, as we have the space there to install it. This is as a first step. Second step, as I through the territories in Syria, they have only one circuit available connected with Lebanon, while in our territories we have 2 circuits. So the capacities in Lebanon is much higher than the Syrian grid. So also this should be done with all the members of the Arab United Electricity countries to build and construct and reinforce the network in Syria in order to be able to import more power from Jordan and Egypt available. Also, there is a big project around the Mediterranean. Here I want to say that EDL recently joined the Mediterranean Transmission System Operators with the TSO. I have the honor to be the head of EDL's team there. We joined recently in May. And this association works on the integration of all the Mediterranean countries all together. They make studies, long-term studies and short-term studies, medium-term studies, to give the recommendations to the countries about additional interconnections like Morocco, Spain, like Tunisia, Sicily, Italy, like Egypt, Cyprus, Jordan, Egypt, Cyprus, Turkey, Cyprus, Greece, etc. And Lebanon, through our work, we would propose additional projects to integrate Lebanon with Cyprus, for example, and to reinforce the integration with Syria and Jordan accordingly. These sure are long-term projects. They will not be achieved now, but in the end, we have to think about the future because we don't have to keep thinking that, oh, now we don't have electricity and then we keep like this. No, we have to hope and get out of this crisis.
Yeah, they had 20 hours, we hoped for 24, we ended up on 0. Yeah, we're getting very far.
And now the issue of
But
zero,
yes, we all
issue
hope
of
as
zero,
long as we're.
the issue of zero supply, now it's not technical. It's not technical.
Yes, of course, we know, but
have
the
the
problem
funds.
is political.
Yeah, if we have the funds, we can keep
Yes.
21 hours
Yes.
again and 16 hours.
So I guess,
So it's
yes, so again,
not a technical issue.
yes, definitely. So again, financing is very clear, like we had many sessions, EBRD, EIB, or saying that today, no funds is going to come to Lebanon to invest if there is no IMF program. Unfortunately, we got to that point where there is no trust to give any investment in Lebanon as long as we're not like really doing reforms and showing that we are on the right path. We are at that situation. I think our leaders are trying to find different other ways to unlock potentials, but I don't know. Hopefully, as a citizen of this country, I hope it won't work with them, and then the traditional work with them reforms means money, more reforms. Actually, more than reforms. I guess reforms is too small on what we have. I think it's about transformation. We need to transform how we run this country and not do reforms only. So, Ronnie, if I can ask you, if you still, yes, so Ronnie, so do you think that today, if we were to put our energy and effort investment, should it be on this integration with regional markets, or you prefer to put that money, if I were to give you like $1 billion into local development and renewables, where should our money be put today to build that kind of new system that we want, and not to be isolated in the region and being just a country that no one wants to touch?
Sorry, Harvey, I cannot hear much. Can
خلاص read the question and give me the answer.
the sound is very, very bad.
Can you hear me now? ما هو بيكون مش مركز معي. Ronnie, so if I were to give you $1 billion, would you put it in regional integration or in local development of
There's a lot of echo. So we're guessing what is being said in your questions. Can Luca send me by WhatsApp, please, the question that she said? She did actually for the first question, so I was able to answer it.
Then check the WhatsApp group, you'll find the question there. Anyway, so let me go to Sander. I think Sander is hearing us better than you are hearing us. Tell me, Franca, so Sander, if I can ask you, as I said at the beginning, so Jordan has been successful kind of, and now they have success in electricity and they want to find markets for it. So how did Jordan manage its energy sector and to become, like, to have that access to be sold regionally? That's one question. And if you, I don't know if you know, but what's preventing the connection between Lebanon and Jordan? And what's preventing today the project to move forward between Lebanon and Jordan? We know in Lebanon, but we'd like to hear from the Jordanian perspective as well.
Okay. Thank you very much. Actually, the market in Jordan is mature. We have a distribution company, Nepto, that is managing the, let's say this is the backbone of the system. And they purchase all the generated electricity, either renewable or not renewable or conventional. And then they feed it to the distribution companies. We have 3 distribution companies, one in the north, one in the middle, and one in the south. We have about 2.5 million consumers. And the electricity is available throughout the year. Our electrification rate is very high. It's 99.997. So that means most of the population in Jordan has electricity. We also have different programs to integrate more people into the electricity grids. These people that are far away from the grid. So since 2012, after the issue of the renewable energy and energy efficiency law, several supporting regulations were issued in order to integrate renewable energy on the grid. As you know, the driver for this integration is the high cost of electricity. So most of the electricity in Jordan, around 50%, is consumed by the residential sector. So the residential sector consumes around 50% of the electricity in Jordan. And we have a stepped-up tariff, which means that the more you consume, the more you pay. And that tariff was changed this April, but for the last 10 years, people consume above 1,000 kilowatt hour per month. They used to pay 37 US cents. So that's a lot of, it's a very high cost. And this segment of people, most of them, they tried, or most of them succeeded in installing the solar PV installations on their grid. So, to my knowledge, around 55,000 solar PV systems are installed on grid for consumers, which is about, let's say, 2% of the customers. We have around 10% of the customers, 10%, they consume more than 1,000 kilowatt hour, and 90% of the customers consume less than 600 kilowatt hour per month. So there's a lot of data, but the driver for moving towards installation of solar PV is the high cost of energy. And of course, now, as I said earlier, people are installing solar PV to cover their building electricity needs plus the transportation needs. So they're covering their building needs and transportation needs using the solar PV system, which is ideal and hopefully many more people can install that. Now, the development of the solar PV was not anticipated because we have plans, and those plans, we are reaching the targets much earlier than the targets that we have set, than the time we have set. So to give you an example, we have the Jordan Energy Strategy 2030, and this strategy calls for reaching the target of 31% renewable energy by 2030. We have reached 29% by 2022, and that is primarily due to the high cost of energy in Jordan, plus the development of technology, which is making the integration of renewable energy in smaller places. Meaning, 10 years ago, you needed double the space that you need right now to install the same size of system. And I'm sure that in the future we will continue to have this development, and we will continue to have the opportunity to install more PV in smaller areas.
Thank you. And just a quick, yes, just to on the Lebanon Jordan project, is it going to happen? Are you going to sell us electricity? And just like to get his views on that.
Yes, the excess energy that is available to Jordan can be transported to Lebanon through the transmission lines from Jordan to Syria to Lebanon. And this is available as soon as the lines are fixed at the Syrian side. So the transmission lines at the Syrian side are not fixed, so we cannot use that yet.
Yes.
And of course, this geopolitics, unfortunately, has to be solved.
Yes.
So and you know, there's a lot of politics in
yes. So I think that's key.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. I think it's key, more than technical problems. I think the political problems are something that are preventing maybe more connectivity in the region, and the lack of trust maybe between governments and states, Arab states, is one aspect of this little progress when it comes to connectivity, because I guess that politics prevails and countries and governments sometimes take action against other countries based on definitely political statements, etc. So I think that lack of confidence and lack of clarity in how these governments are dealing with each other makes that really a challenge for connecting the region altogether, being it through electricity or other means. I always find it fascinating that the hardest visas are the visas that Arabs get and for Arab countries. So anyway, that's another issue. So to go back to Ronnie, so Ronnie, where will you put your $1 billion? In integration, integrating the Lebanese market for electricity with the others, or in local development of renewable energies now?
Laura, I'd like to, I'd like to answer this question, but I'd like to put it in the context and comment a little on what Samuel mentioned about Jordan. Jordan is a very important example for Lebanon. It's almost the same size of the population. And, they've done the right things. He's mentioned that Jordan is reaching 29% now, much faster than the 31% that they anticipated to do in 2030. So the first thing Lebanon has to do is catch up on Jordan. And so we need massive investment in renewable energy to catch up on Jordan. There's no reason why Lebanon cannot do the same thing as Jordan. They started at the same time as us. We had more financing than they did. Now, obviously, it's a different situation.
So does it
There's
have
no
to
reason
do?
why Lebanon should not reach 25-30% in the next 3 or 4 years. Massively inject renewable energy, so massively invest in renewable energy. I'd like to comment on buying electricity from Jordan. This is supposed to be an emergency. We are obviously for regional integration. Lebanon cannot stay as an energy island. It's much better to be like Europe, where all countries are interconnected. You buy and sell, whenever you need it. But we are buying the $300 million that are borrowing, so we have to pay it back. To buy energy from Jordan, it would cost us 12.2 cents, according to the Ministry of Energy plan. It costs Jordan, at least during the day, for solar, 2 cents and a half. So this is a bankrupt country, Lebanon, that needs to buy, that badly needs electricity, that goes and begs the World Bank to borrow $300 million to buy electricity five times more expensive than it would cost them to produce it locally with solar. Okay? That will last, borrow this money, and that will last less than a year and a half. So, in terms of, and we have this limit, we still it's linked to the Jordanians, it's linked to the Syrian regime and the transmission network. They can cut it anytime they want. While using $300 million to give you an idea, it will give us around 500-600 megawatts of solar. So this is part of the massive injection at 2 cents and a half, 3 cents. And it would power a million people, 18 hours a day.
It's not only to have a government.
Lebanese population. So it's really important to learn from Jordan, to use that example, but work against waste again. It needs temporary solutions where we borrow even more money, just to throw it after a year and a half and say we don't have money anymore. And the government is planning to buy 5 years of Jordanian electricity at 12.2 cents. So we need this money right away. This is our ask from the international community to be injected in renewable energy, whether it's utility scale or whether it's local, because this is going to give us energy security, our own energy, not importing it, not being liable linked to a regional and political situation. And we need cheap energy. So this is on the Jordanian side. Now, in terms of, if I understood your question about integration or not, it's not an either or question. Today, if we do local or regional projects like villages, that will be using the generator network. Tomorrow, when we have obviously they need to be up to standard and they'll be coordinated. We will disconnect the generator network and connect it to the grid, like the Arifa project. But even your NDB today tells you Arifa is a failure because they couldn't solve these different issues with the data. We cannot keep on waiting for the global and the system and the network and everything, and we know how great of a job Ramsey and his team are doing in an impossible situation, just because there's no network. So we have to go for regional projects, as big as possible. Could be a village or multiple villages or regional. And we've done a lot of studies to that. We've been studying many, dozens of villages, and we're using the generator network. So being able to reduce the use of the generator as much as possible. And tomorrow, if we have a network, an electricity network, if we invest in transmission lines, etc., then we can obviously throw it back into the grid, which is the most efficient way to do it.
Okay.
So,
Can
short
you
term, we need to
yes.
go emergency, we need to go local. We can integrate it in the future and the key is flexibility. We need to be flexible in all what we do.
Okay, so because we need to wrap up, so just I'll start with you, like one recommendation on these issues that we discussed today. One recommendation. What do you recommend?
Our recommendation today is that stop wasting money, stop using temporary solutions, use all the funding that is necessary to inject renewables as much as possible.
Thank you.
Let's start having our two gas plants, existing gas plants, functioning on gas, the El Amar and Zahrani, before we jump and say we need to build more gas plants. Our calculation is that if we leapfrog the renewables and we start catching up like Jordan, we only need one extra gas plant. So the debate on two gas plants or even three gas plants is typical of our political class, of the mentality of centralized systems. And we need to avoid what Jordan made as a mistake. So maybe we need to start one new gas plant because it takes time to build them. It takes 4 or 5 years. But we can start on building massive renewable energy in our villages, on our schools, for our water wells, for our pumping state systems, which can be executed in a matter of weeks or months.
Thank you. So thank you for your recommendation. Again, going into investing in renewables today, we're finding different ways, and we're supposed to have to discuss that. But I'm sure like in later sessions, they will discuss about financing and possibilities of financing again, because we need to finance in the renewables. At the same time, as you're saying, I agree that use what power plants you have now for gas, but even that gas is being difficult to come because there are conditions from the World Bank to give us the money to buy the gas, because unfortunately today we are at a situation where we need a loan to buy gas. It's not to do projects. It's nothing like it's more sustainable. It's just to buy the gas so that we could have electricity. A very bad situation we're in. Samer, just one recommendation as well before I move on to Ramzi. What would be your recommendation?
Thank you very much again for everybody. I'm a renewable energy guy, so I have to advise you to focus on capacity building. Really, I believe that renewable energy, we just started, and this is the future. So I ask all the young generation to focus on solar PV. I ask professionals that are really working in the field to take upskilling courses and to integrate renewable energy into their lives, into their facilities, into their homes.
Thank you very much.
We don't have to wait for big projects to come and solve a lot of problems. We have to focus on what we can. Lebanon is doing a great job during the past few months in integrating renewable energy, and I think we will continue to see great development in the sports sectors. The Lebanese professionals are key for the development of the sector. They will be able to solve the local problems technology will continue to develop, and I urge the Lebanese professionals to continue bringing the best technologies to Lebanon and integrate more renewable energy in their
Thank you.
lives and in their goods. Thank you very much. Over to
Thank
you.
you, Samuel, thank you. Ramzi, the last word is yours.
Okay.
Tadawli, so what is your recommendation?
The
We
recommendation.
still believe in the state, even if it's dismantled.
always believe.
Exactly.
We should always believe in this. And the recommendations, okay, renewables are perfect, renewables are green energy, but renewables alone can't work. As we said, the base load should be covered by the conventional gas power plants in order to have enough inertia and stability in the network. Renewables would enter in the peak time loads with others. Reserve power should be in the conventional power plants to take the place of renewables when they are not there. Integration with the other countries is very important in order to be able to increase renewables. It doesn't mean that I don't want to be integrated because the prices from Jordan are more than I can generate renewables. It's okay, yes, but in the end, the integration in another way paves the way for more renewable integrations with a stable grid. Without this, we can integrate, but without stability. And Jordan is facing such a problem. I met the guy from NEPCO in Tunisia last week with the TSO, and they told me about the problems that they are facing because they have such big amounts of renewables. But they have the good thing for them that they are integrated with Egypt and with Saudi Arabia. If not, they will face a grid blackout without such integration. So this is a very important issue.
Thank you very much. Thank you for all here in the convention center and online. Thank you very much. So we will now go to the second session, right? No? You have a recommendation? Yes. So one recommendation from the Saga.
Thank you. Gilles Amin from UNESCO. After what we've heard in this valuable panel, and with foreign investments not showing up anytime soon due to the lack of reforms, and since the decentralized renewable energy law seems to be taking a longer break in Parliament, I have a very practical recommendation for EDL, since Ramzi here is representing EDL. While we wait on this, there are thousands of net metering applications that are piling up on the desks of EDL. And currently there are 2 heroic staff only at EDL dealing with these thousands of applications. The recommendation is very simple. Since we're barely generating any power, there's not a lot of work going on at EDL. The recommendation is to assign 10 staff, or 15, or 20, or 50, just to process these net metering applications. Because if this is done, and the power is restored for 8 or 10 hours, you're going to be able to see the impact of this decentralized renewable energy that's generated. Because right now, they're offline. The grid is never going to see them. And I have friends, relatives, myself, our applications are waiting. The sun is there, the batteries are full, we're not being able to export. So just assign more people to process these applications, because the 2 existing staff, there's no way they can get through these applications in 10 years, let alone 1 or 2 months. Thank you.
So very practical, I guess, recommendation. So thank you all, thank you Ramzi, thank you Ronnie, and thank you Samer, and thank you for all, and we'll be, yes, can we take questions? And I can't stay, but I can stay. Fadda.
Yes, I was hearing Ramzi saying that we have 40% loss on our grid. 40% loss on the grid, around.
2, technical or not technical?
Technical and not technical, okay. Now, if we transport energy from neighboring countries, if we inject solar in the grid. We are losing 40% already. So what do you have plans, regardless of the IMF position? Do you have plans to rehabilitate the grid first and to enlarge its transportation power second?
But just maybe you can explain what is the non-technical so that they understand that the technical is something and the non-technical is.
Reinforcing the grid is in the master plan. I mentioned the master plan that is being prepared by the World Bank and EDF and EDL. We are taking all these issues into consideration to reduce the technical losses by constructing new overhead lines and regional substations in order to be able to reduce the losses to long distances by increasing the carrying capacities. On the distribution grid, the same. For the untechnical losses, okay, maybe the renewable energy, since they are generated on the rooftops, etc., it's an indirect way to reduce the untechnical problems, the connections. But in the end, it's the untechnical losses are, I mentioned two parts, are the illegal connections, which are much more in the last 10 years due to the refugees and etc. And now recently, you know, the policemen are not making patrols because they don't have fuel or benzene. So it's a big problem, one big problem. In addition, the inability for EDL to collect. Sometimes our men are fired from certain places and houses. Why you are coming here? We don't have electricity. We want to pay you. And this was even before the collapse, before 2019. Some places that were being supplied by 14 or 16 hours, they are not paying. They use not to pay. 16 hours paid. Why you are not paying? Now, it was as if, give me 24 hours, unless I will not pay. How would you pay for the generator that provide 12 hours? So this is an issue that is outside the borders of India. And we don't have an army to go and force people to pay. It's
Which responsibility is it for that?
the responsibility for collection now recently for the distribution ESPs.
Yes.
ESPs. They are authorized to collect. The same that does previously we used to say the government is bad, they are not paying because they are employees for EDL. Now we are giving it to the private sector and the same result. The connection to the private sector, but the same result. So this should be agreed on higher levels to put this sector outside the politics. This is the most important issue, I think. When it is being put outside, it can work as it used to work in the 70s and before. We were lending the central bank. I read somewhere the 60s EDL lent Kuwait. Imagine. And it was a governmental utility.
Yes.
It was not privatized.
So I think we can't take any questions anymore. But I think just one thing to say that now there is this emphasis on that we need to increase the tariff because that will save the air and that will give us electricity. I think it's a fantasy. There are other things that they need to do as well as increasing that they're not doing. They're just like putting again all the everything in the hands and on the shoulders of the citizens and not doing things that are painful for them to do, like the collection, etc., etc. So on that, we end this session. And if you have any questions for Ramzi, I think we'll be staying a bit maybe to ask the questions. Thank you, Roni. Thank you, Samer. Thank you all. And now I'm Jed will ending. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.